Hey everyone, this is Sean Smith and welcome back. Hopefully you're getting a lot out of these videos for speakers, and in today's video we're going to be talking about the live event that we're doing called Captivate Your Crowd. See, I think one of the problems in the entire industry of speaking is that people really aren't solid and confident and certain in their ability to deliver their message. Now, when you become a powerful speaker, or when you become just a more powerful speaker, I think we're all powerful speakers, but when you amplify that power and you become more connecting, there's really nothing you can't do. I mean, it's the best way to get business, it's the best way to sell products, it's the best way to show people a little bit of who you are. But because most people don't have that confidence and don't have that certainty in their body, in their message, in their speaking skills, in the whole package, right? They don't play a big enough game. So our intention at Captivate Your Crowd is to teach you the inside as well as the outside of this entire game of speaking, so that you can captivate your crowd, so that you can be connecting, so that you can be powerful magnetic force and get your message out into the world in a much bigger way. Now, before I get into what we're going to do at this event, let me tell you about the players. Let me tell you about who's going to be doing the event. I will be there, obviously, and I've been speaking for about 8 years. I never intended to be a speaker, but when I got really clear that I have this message that I have to get out into the world, then speaking just became one of the things that I had to do, basically, I wanted to do. And I went to several speaking events, and honestly, the speaking training that I went to in the beginning of my career was about how to talk. It was about the performance. It was about what to do with your hands and what not to do with your hands, and don't put them in your pockets, and don't say and it was all about just the show. And what it did for me is it actually held me back, because it caused me to think about what I was doing, and all of my focus was on me. And then I'd say about a year and a half into my career, I went to an event that totally changed my life. I had so many ahas, and I finally got it. That speaking is not about talking, it's not about performing, it's not about the show. It's really about connecting. And in fact, speaking is just a way for you to connect. That's what this is all about. It's about connection. And I had some ahas and breakthroughs, as well as learned some different high-level internal skills that completely changed the game for me. And I think overnight, I dropped my fears around speaking. I became much more connected, and it's so much more fun than I was making it before. So that's the intention of Captivate Your Crowd, is that you really just become so much more alive with who you are and congruent and connecting. And I've invited two guys to do this event with me. One of them is my good friend Romeo. Many of you know Romeo. And let me tell you, when I think about Romeo, the word that comes to me is captivation. I mean, he just oozes magnetism and excitement, but in an authentic way, not in a performance kind of showy way that a lot of people do, in a truly authentic way. And Romeo knows how to perform. Let me tell you that, because he's actually been in Hollywood films, he's been in commercials, he's an acting coach, he teaches acting and performance, and a lot of his clients have gotten roles in films and on commercials and so forth. But when I saw Romeo actually do his thing, I was blown away. One of my favorite memories of Romeo is a talk that he did in India a little while back. And he had hundreds and hundreds of people in the crowd, and he just brought them into him, but also into themselves. And it was one of my favorite talks that I've ever seen. He was dancing, and he was doing his thing, but he brought emotion, and he brought total captivation.
Question to you is, who are you lighting this for? This is for my mom, my dad, and my dad's health as he gets stronger and stronger. This is for my family. This is for your family. This is for the people in India and all around the world. And this is for this little kid that sits inside of us and now stands tall and says, I'm ready. It's time.
Romeo's energy is what captivated his crowd. It was just so phenomenal. I said, I got to partner up with this guy. And the second guy that I'm bringing in is my great friend, and he's actually my number one mentor in this business, in this life. He was the first guy that I went to and said, man, I want to be a speaker. Can you teach me how to do that? Because what I saw in him was just pure excellence and brilliance and professionalism, but again, not being cut off with the crowd, being completely inviting. Tony McGee is my favorite speaker. And there's a talk that I will never forget where he spoke to the Department of Defense. And this is a bunch of people who are always buttoned up, right? And they're used to people coming in and standing in front of a podium and just reading off of bullets and talking about the agenda. And Tony came up there and in 1 minute, I mean, he had these people completely out of the box, out of their box. And in a few minutes, he had him clapping, dancing. I mean, this is the Department of Defense. But Tony came in. This is what I love about Tony. He came in and he took over their environment, not in an abrasive way. That's how a lot of speakers try to do it. They try to take over like I'm in charge and you're smaller than me. But Tony just brought his energy and he took over the entire environment. He owned that space. And when you can do that as a speaker, when you can show up and own your space, people are so much more attracted to you. They're so much more connected to you. So I've invited Tony in to teach us, and I'll be there learning from both these guys as well as you. Teach us some of the things that he does to, one of my favorite quotes from him is to body slam the crowd. I mean, he body slams you with his emotion. And I've asked him to actually do his signature talk. We're going to start the event with his signature talk, and that'll blow you away. It'll be unforgettable, I promise you.
Well, let's clap your hands, everybody. Well, everybody, just clap your hands. DLA, clap your hands. Department of Defense, clap your hands. Well, if you're feeling all right and you think you're on, somebody let me know. Well, everybody in the place, put a whistle in your face, scream it out, say, yo. He ain't saying she a gold digger, but she ain't messing with no broke. Cause you're a shining star. Sing, no matter who you are, shining bright to see what you can truly be, what you can truly be. Shining star for you to see what your life can truly be. Shining star for you to see what your life can truly be. Shining star for you to see what your life can truly be. Shining star for you to see what your life can truly be.
So that's who's coming in to play, the three of us. And when we get together, man, there's going to be fun and there's going to be laughter. And we don't have any idea, what's going to happen when we take the stage and when we just partner up and get into flow. That's what this is all about. So let me tell you a little bit more about the structure of the event. There is actually some structure to the event. There's going to be 4 basic modules. The first module, man, I'm so excited thinking about it. I've actually forgotten what these modules are. The first module is, what is the first module? Oh, the first module, the first module is the inner game. What we all believe is that if you learn how to talk, but you haven't learned how to manage the inner game, then it really doesn't matter, what your skills are. The second module is connection skills. Again, not speaking skills. Speaking is just a way to connect. We're going to talk about connection skills. The third module is, performance and feedback. Because if you learn what to do, but you don't practice what to do, and you just learn it in your mind, but you don't learn it in your body, then you'll not be able to take it away from you, or with you, rather. And then the fourth module is the business side, the business of speaking. So let me explain a little bit more in depth each of these modules. The inner game. I've spent the last 8 years of my career really studying and learning and teaching the inner game. And what I found is that it doesn't matter whether you're talking about somebody who's in a traditional sales position, somebody who's a work-at-home mom, somebody who is on stage speaking, somebody who's coaching. It doesn't matter what application of connection and communication we're talking about. The inner game is what's going to stop most people, right? I believe that this accounts for about 90%, if not more, of your success. It's not about the skill set. It's about your internal certainty, your confidence, your connection, your magnetism, your energy, all of that stuff. So we're going to spend a good chunk of time working on the inner game. Now, this is something that you generally don't get in any sort of speaking training. It's all about the how-tos and it's all about the show and the performance. But if this is what's going to be the most important piece, then we would be doing you a disservice by giving you the tools but not clearing up whatever the blocks are inside. So we're actually going to do some of the internal work. We're going to identify what the fears are. We're going to challenge and erase your fears that you have about speaking, about connecting, about performing in front of the camera, or any of that sort of stuff. We are all about the inner game, and we're going to spend a lot of time at our event working on this stuff. And what this is about is what I call clear your mirror. If you're not a clear vessel, if you've got all these blocks and fears and internal conflicts going on, then you cannot come alive. It's impossible for you to come alive. It's impossible for people to see themselves in you if your mirror is foggy. Right? I'm sure most of us have had the experience of coming out of the shower or something, running hot water, and having the mirror all foggy, right? You can't see yourself. You got to take a little washcloth and wipe it around, right? And then it just kind of fogs back up again, so you got to do it again. That's not the best way to communicate. That's not the best way to connect with people. You've got to show up with a clear mirror so that people can see inside of you and you can get inside of them, right? And what this is all about the internal connection. This whole piece of clearing your mirror is about the internal connection, because you cannot connect with other people at a deep, deep level if you're not connected with yourself, if you're not connected with your message, if you're not connected with your body, if you're not connected with your energy. You've got to be internally connected, because that's the core of the communication. If you don't have an internal connection at the core, then it doesn't matter what you do. It's not going to land as well. So the internal connection piece is the most important thing. Before we talk about what do you do, what do you speak out of your mouth, we've got to get connected inside in our body, in our reality. And now we're going to get into a little bit of S&M here. What I'm talking about is maybe not what you were thinking. Source management. And this is a piece of the internal connection. We've got to be able to manage the source of your states, right? Your state management, your physical state, your mental state, your emotional state. We've got to be able to manage your mindset, the thoughts that are going on in your head. How can you create better stories, better head talk? How can you actually remember your talks inside your mind? All of that falls under the mindset management. And then your energy, your physical energy and your emotional energy. Again, this is all within. This is all the inner work, the inner game that has to come first before we start putting stuff externally, before we start giving you the skills and all that stuff. Most people just spend their time learning the skills of speaking. And I think that's off in two ways. Number one, it's not about speaking, it's about connecting. But number two, they spend their time learning the external game instead of the internal game. Now, once we get clear on the internal game, now we do need to talk about some of these connection skills. These are not unimportant. They're just not the most important piece. But we do need to talk about, and in one of the other videos, we talked a little bit about creating rapport. How can you build rapport as soon as you get on stage? You know there's a way. Right when you get on stage, either when you've been announced or right when your mic comes on, you can get on stage and immediately energetically connect with the audience and build incredible rapport, an energetic rapport that they can feel in less than 3 seconds. And it doesn't matter if we're talking about 5 people in the audience or we're talking about 5,000 people in the audience. You can project your energy and have it land with your audience in less than a few seconds. I actually just did it. There's this energetic idea of it's like extending a blanket of energy and connection and just letting it land on your audience, and it's super powerful. Once you have that rapport though, once you allow that rapport, now you've got to manage the rapport, right? You've got to keep the rapport, and part of that is influencing their emotions. You know, once you have them in your energetic grasp, you can move them. You can bring them up and you can bring them down and you can bring them wherever you want to bring them because you've got this connection now. And it's important to intentionally put their energy in certain places, put their mind in certain places. It's really crucial for you to manage your communication with their emotion and their energy all at the same time so that it's all congruent. And if you don't have that internal connection, then you can't do that. I mean, it's just simply impossible. So a lot of people are talking to their crowd, but they're not connected with their crowd. So the speaker is going off in one direction, and the crowd is off in another direction, not paying attention. There has to be this flow that can only happen when you're internally connected and externally connected to them. Now, once you've got all this rapport, you're able to manage the emotions and so forth. Now let's get into some of the actual techniques. And one of the most powerful techniques is storytelling. Romeo is one of the masters at storytelling. Tony is one of the best storytellers I've ever heard. And when you get clear on how to tell stories, but how to tell it in the context of your emotion, how to tell it in the context of your message, how to become your story. Not just tell the story, but how do you become the story? And how do you put your audience into the story as well? That's when you become a master at connection. And the only or the best way to influence and be persuasive is to tell stories. So we're going to spend a lot of time on telling stories. And then this might be my favorite part. I don't know. I mean, everything I say is like, oh, that's my favorite part. But one of my favorite parts, at least, is the physicality of speaking. There are body movements that you need to know about. There are pieces of everybody's talk that are so critical. You know, when you're delivering the punchline of a joke or when you're delivering the message of a story, there are heightened, important, pieces in your message. What I mean by that is there are times in your message, there are times in your communication when the importance of that moment is so high that your physicality must match. And what I see people doing is actually the opposite of what they should be doing with their body in certain points of their message. Whether it's something that they should be coming forward with and they're coming back on, or their body language is really victim-like when they're supposed to be delivering a powerful, authoritative message. Or simple things like their mindset is, you can tell their mindset and their energy and their body language is not matching what they're saying. So they might be talking about a certain time in their story that they were really scared, but they're talking to you like I'm talking to you right now. That doesn't match fear. Or they might be talking about the opposite time where, or the opposite of that, where, they are trying to deliver this really powerful message but their body language is all about fear, and it's all about uncertainty. Like I'm literally in this uncertain place right now by where my eyes are going, by my body language, by the bend in my knee. I'm bending back. And a lot of people will have that body language while trying to deliver a powerful point, right? So the physicality is huge. And this is where you will come alive. And there's nothing like being alive on stage, and you'll feel it when you become alive, and your audience feels it when you become alive and they become alive. And there's just this powerful connection that happens. And that has to come out in your body language as well. It's not just what you say. It's just the flow of your physicality. And when you come alive and your physicality matches and it's congruent, your talk doesn't become a talk. It doesn't become a speech. It becomes an experience. And I don't want your experiences, I don't want your communication, I don't want your speeches to just be something that people can remember. I want your speeches to be something that they can't forget. Now, going back to this talk that Romeo did in India and the talk that Tony McGee did for the Department of Defense, in both of these talks, they didn't do something that was memorable. They did something that their audience could not forget, even if they tried. And that's the highest level of connection, in my opinion, as a speaker. Oh, the other thing about connection skills is we are going to take over 24 of these kinds of connection skills and strategically layer them in one at a time. What happens a lot of times is you learn a bunch of things you're supposed to do, a bunch of skills or a bunch of concepts, and then you're left to go home and put them in all at once. But if you really want to do this properly, and you understand the way that the human mind learns as well as the human body learns, you've got to layer these things in one at a time. Learn one thing at its core and have it become a piece of you, and then place another thing on. And now you've got two things in your repertoire, in your toolbox, and then place a third. It's kind of like juggling. I actually have some balls here. It's like juggling. Now, I'm not a great juggler, but if you want to learn to juggle, you can take like 5 balls and try to juggle them all, or you can go one at a time. So a better way to learn how to juggle is get really good at doing this first thing, right? And we're going to break you down to where you can't use your body, you can't use your head, you can't use your hand, you can't use anything. And we're going to break it down to the very core of connection. How can you connect with people without even moving? And then, after that, we're going to add in a small, tiny movement. So now, how can you connect with people at the core with your energy, but then add one little tiny movement in it? And as you do it, you're going to get good at juggling these 2 balls. You're going to get good at these 2 skill sets, right? And then what's going to happen after you're really good with these 2 skill sets, we're going to throw in a third one. Now, I don't know if I can even juggle 3 balls. We're going to see here. But now, we're going to add a third skill set, right? But you already got the first 2 skill sets. There you go. I got a little bit of a flow there. I think you get the idea. You got the first 2 skill sets, and then we're going to add a third one on, and then we're going to add a fourth one on, and then a fifth, and so forth. Now, I don't think I've ever juggled 4 balls, but let me see if I can do it. I wasn't even letting go of the 4th ball. I was so scared to let go of the 4th ball. Let's see. Nah, whatever. So much easier, though, when we're talking about speaking than juggling tennis balls. But hopefully you get the concept. And it's really important when you're talking about some kind of physical learning that you layer in the skills. And that's the majority of the connection skills are going to be layered in 1 at a time or 2 at a time. Now, once you've got the internal game cleared and you've got the connection skills, now it's time to perform and it's time to get some feedback. Now, we will be doing this along the way, but we are going to give you plenty of time to become your message, to practice your talk, to practice your words. I mean, it does take practice in order to get clear on the delivery of whatever your message is. It's great to hear yourself say something, think about it, maybe hear yourself say it again or tweak a little bit or what have you. And the 3 of us will be giving a ton of feedback to you, as well as the other people in the room, going to be giving a ton of feedback to you so that you can be congruent. We are going to be really critical, not critical in an abrasive way, but we're going to be really hypercritical in your congruence. Does your body language match your message? Does your energy match your message? Is this really landing the way it could? Would I rather you say this word, or let's try this on? I mean, this is where we get into the lab and practice and practice and practice and practice to where it becomes a piece of you. When your message is a piece of you, and you are the message, right? Then it doesn't matter really what you say. You don't have to worry about all these skills. You just show up and you just connect and you communicate from who you are, because your message is a piece of you. It's all one connection. It's not you're the speaker and then you have a message. It's you are your message, right? So it's got to be congruent. That has to, you've got to perform, you've got to get feedback in order to do this. You've got to be congruent with 3 things. Your words, your energy, and your body language. I think I've already talked enough about that. Okay? But a lot of times there's no way for you to do this unless you get other people noticing you and giving you that feedback. I mean, most of us, you know, if we think we're looking a certain way, most of the time we're not. So one of the worst things you can do is try to do all of this on your own. The best thing you can do is get help, get support, get feedback. So another S&M we're going to look at is creating your signature message. What's that message that is unique to you? One of the things that I think we're really good at is bringing out an authentic message, bringing out distinction in each one of our students. And how is it that you can really truly connect with your past, but bring that into your message with the stories that you tell, with the lessons, with the morals, with all that stuff? It's about creating your signature message so that this is about you and your uniqueness and your distinction in the world and in the marketplace and in the business of speaking. And you're not just trying to be like somebody else. At this event, I think you can probably tell already, there's not going to be a whole lot of lecturing. There's going to be a lot more doing. That's what you're going to walk away with, is the experience lodged in your body, not in your mind. And a lot of the speaking events that I go to, we get a lot of material put into our mind, but it doesn't make its way down into our body because we don't have enough time to do it. And then when you go back home and try to implement it on your own without the supportive environment, and when you've got all these other responsibilities that you just naturally have when you're at home, it doesn't get there. And then it gets lodged in the mind, and that's actually worse, to have all this information up in the mind but not really have it in the body. And that creates more fear and more doubts. And so people are actually doing a disservice if they're just delivering head concepts but not allowing it to really get truly into your body. And this has been one of the themes of all of these videos. It's how to be 100% authentic. This is not a Tony McGee or Romeo or Sean factory. We're not trying to turn you into us. That's one of the most important pieces, is that you don't try to be like anybody else. We want you to be the most fulfilled and fully expressed version of you that you can possibly be. And now finally, the fourth piece here, the fourth module, is we got to talk about the business side of speaking. If we don't do that, then again, we'll be doing you a disservice. A lot of this will be the design work. We want to design the layout of your talks. A lot of people design their talks with no intention behind it, no strategy behind it. Especially if you're going to be in the business of speaking, where you want to do this as a profession, you want to make an income out of it. Your layout of your talks must be strategic. Wherever you want them to be at the end of the talk, you've got to design your talk according to that piece. And that's what most people don't do. I didn't do that for probably 3 years of my career. I didn't really truly understand. You've got to reverse engineer your talks according to where you want people to be at the time you offer them the next step. Whether it's another seminar, it's a coaching package, it's products, whatever it is, you've got to intentionally design the layout so they are where you need them to be right before they take that next step. And most people just design their talk without that forethought, without the foresight, and then there's incongruence between where people are and what you want them to do next. So we've got to make sure your layout is totally congruent. We'll take a look at your sales funnel. You'll have time to design your sales funnel, get our input with your sales funnel. Tony, Romeo, and I have done so much in this industry differently. None of our businesses look the same at all. So why I'm saying that is I've got so many experiences that in doing the business the one way, in designing your own events. What I've made most of my money on is designing my own events. I've only gotten paid to speak twice. Once was $50, second time was $5,000. I gave myself 100 times raise because I wanted to. But I've only gotten paid to talk twice. Most of my income, my entire business, has been around creating events that people pay for and then creating, the business side out of the events. Tony has done those events as well, but he's done a lot more speaking gigs where he's gotten paid to come in and talk, and Romeo also gotten paid to come in and talk, do more of those kinds of events. But what I'm saying is, collectively, the three of us have so much experience in what we've seen in different business models and what we've experienced personally that it'll be really powerful for our minds to help you on your business and design a funnel that works for you. A lot of times people just try to find the speaking funnel, like what's the right way to do a talk, what's the right way to get gigs, what's the right way to design your presentation, what's the right way to produce your products, what's the right price. All of those are variable. It depends. It depends on who you are. It depends on your market. It depends on where, your whole funnel. It depends on all of that stuff. And I alluded to a lot of that in in the marketing video of this series. But it really truly depends, and you need individualized attention to get clear on this. So if there's, 20 people in any given group, there's going to be 20 different models that they should have. There are 20 different individual models that's going to be congruent and right for them. So that's one of the things that I believe in the most. And finally, it is about the big O, right? making the offer. The first time I tried to sell something on stage, I think I probably peed my pants a little bit. I was so scared. I felt like I'm probably coming off right now, because I'm literally like I'm getting myself back into that state. Think I can remember exactly where I was on stage. I can remember the audience, and my body is totally becoming that state right now, even as I'm accessing it. I was so nervous. I was so uncertain. I didn't know how they were going to react. I'm getting like goosebumps of anxiety right now, literally just putting myself back in that moment. And that's how I felt. I was so scared. And it was probably the weakest, lamest pitch maybe in the history of all speaking. But I remember being there. And it took a bunch of practices until I got comfortable even a little bit, making some kind of offer. And this is a piece that most people really struggle with and they're afraid of. And a lot of times it causes them to not make any offer. So we will spend ample time at the event not only designing your offer, but actually practicing making your offer. It's important that you design the whole package, right? That there's an energetic match, there's a physicality match. I was at a speaking event recently, and this lady absolutely captivated the entire crowd. Her whole talk. And then when she got to the offer, she pulled up a chair and she sat down in this director's chair and leaned back and read from a piece of paper. It was the biggest turnaround that I have ever seen from somebody who was dynamic. She could have sold anything to anybody in the room because she had everybody in the palm of her hand. And then she turned into this fear-creating, disconnected, literally hiding behind the paper on the chair, and completely lost everybody in the crowd. And I was just sitting there went, whoa, I've never seen that kind of a shift. And that's what a lot of people do energetically because they are not clear on their offer. They don't have certainty. They don't have confidence. They haven't even bought their own offer first, right? So we're going to spend a lot of time really designing your offer, but practicing the delivery of your offer. And for a lot of you, this might be the absolute most important piece because this is where you're going to make money. If you can't deliver an offer, then there's no way that you're going to be able to make any money, and this just becomes a hobby, right? It's like practicing magic tricks. Do you want to be a practicing speaker, or do you actually want to make a career of this? And this is where most of that is going to come down to, right? I mean, obviously everything that we've been talking about is leading up to this, but this is a very critical piece of your talk. And sometimes this offer is more of an energetic offer. It doesn't always have to be about sales, but when you are going to sell something, this is such a critical piece. Another thing here is what to do at the event. Again, we've had hundreds of events that we've done between us. We're going to tell you the things to make sure that you bring to the event, the things to do at the event to get their, not attention, but to get their information, right? To follow up with them. How do you actually record the events, whether it's on video or whether it's on audio. It's all the ins and outs and the nuts and bolts of the event itself. I can't tell you how many people have done a live event, done some kind of speaking, and they said, oh, I wish I would have done this, and I wish I would have done that, and I wish I would have done that. And I'm usually like, well, you should have talked to us before. We would have told you to do all that kind of stuff, right? So this is a really critical piece so that you maximize every one of your speaking engagements. We're going to also talk about product creation. Between us, we have hundreds of products, literally hundreds of products, and we'll talk about how to do all of that, how to produce the products, how to do CDs. I mean, any of the questions you have around product creation, you're going to get answered. And this is really Tony's specialty, getting gigs. What do you actually do to get speaking gigs? So there's going to be a business piece of this. I don't know if you can tell by my energy and my excitement. I don't know that I've ever been as excited about an event as I am about this one. And part of it is just, I want to learn too from Tony and Romeo and do some of the things that they're going to bring that I've, only watched, but I've never really sat down and learned at their feet. But it's just it's going to be so fun. It's going to be so exciting, but it's going to be powerful because, as I've been saying, it's about you getting inside of your body and you coming alive with your message and with yourself. So let me tell you about the details of this event. It's going to be a 5-day event, Monday through Friday, Los Angeles, California, July 22nd through the 26th. It requires time. It requires a big chunk of time for us to really dig in and for you to just roll your sleeves up and play in the stuff, right? Play in the mud, you know, get in there and do the work. So it's a 5-day deep dive, super connecting, super draining, super inspiring. I mean, it's going to be like an emotional marathon and a physical marathon because that's what it takes to become a master at connecting and speaking. Now, the tuition of this event, I think the cheapest I've ever paid for a speaker's training is, I think, about $1,500, maybe $2,000. The best training event that I ever went to, I alluded to it earlier, was $5,000. I thought I got the bargain of the century. We're going to do this event for now at $997. There's a payment plan on it as well. We'll give some information on that below. So for a $1,000 investment, you know, what would that mean to you in your career and the certainty that you have when you're able to connect with people? And it's not just talking on stages. I haven't even said that enough in this video. It's about coming alive anytime you're connecting on camera, on stage, on webinars, on teleseminars, one-on-one. All of that will be amplified and enhanced when you do all of this work that we're going to be teaching you. So what would that be worth in your business when you become more alive and magnetic and captivating and intriguing and enchanting in your entire business, right? As always, there's a full money-back guarantee. We'll put information on that on your guarantee down below. We're going to give you some bonuses. The first bonus is anytime and always. What that means is when you join us here in Los Angeles, you register, you can come back anytime and you can come back forever. Right? At this point, you can come back at any time and not pay any of the tuition just to sharpen the sword, right? Just to come back and get back into the energy. And for anybody that's registering now, we're going to give this access to you. We're not going to always give this access to everybody that comes to our events, but for right now we are. We obviously want to make this a no-brainer, right? We want to make this a no-brainer so you can come back anytime and forever whenever we do these Captivate Your Crowd events, right? The second bonus is you're going to get all of our products. And a lot of the products, a lot of my products specifically, are about the inner game, right? And you're going to get all the products that we've created as a model so that you can maybe model your own products after them, see how we've edited them, see how we deliver them, see how we do the artwork and so forth. But you're also going to get it to use, you know, in your own life. Because as I said, it's the inner game that's the most important piece of this. And all of our products are all around personal development and continuing to, you know, to grow, peel away layers and so forth. So you're going to get all of that. The value on that is actually, it's probably $2,000. I didn't price it out one by one. The value of this, I mean, it depends on how much you come back and how often you continue to amplify your speaking skills and whatever. And then the third bonus we're going to give you is 2 one-on-one calls, one with me and one with Romeo. And I think my best ability is to help people design their messages and see where they can go to get those talks out there into the world, see how to market them, see how to make that whole funnel come alive. That's not the only thing that we can talk about, you and I, but that's probably the best thing that I can do with you. I think Romeo's best ability is to help you individually and authentically, you know, come alive personally in front of the camera. So Romeo does a lot of his stuff either virtually, like on Skype, or where you send him a video and he'll take a look at it and say, well, what if you do this and move this? Because remember, he's been in front of the camera on Hollywood in front of the directors, and what is it going to take when you're basically selling yourself? What is it going to take to get in, right? To get to the next audition, to get that booking. You know, he's gotten the bookings, he's gotten a lot of his clients, a lot of bookings in the Hollywood arena. Right? It's cutthroat business, right? So that's what Romeo's really powerful about or with. Again, that's not the only thing he can help you with, but I would suggest you allow him to kind of get his hands on you and help you become even more alive. Now, these calls are after the event. You're going to do a lot of this work at the event, but after the event, a couple weeks later, a couple months later, whenever it's best for you, that's when these calls are going to be so much more valuable when you're now implementing all the things that you've learned. So that's Captivate Your Crowd, you guys. It is going to be awesome. Every time we talk about this event, the question that we have is, how can we make this the absolute best speaker, but more importantly, connection training out there? So that's what we're constantly thinking about. The three of us have put our heads together and said, we got to do this, we got to do this, we got to do this. And that's just what we've planned. Let me tell you, there will be things that happen in the room that are just organically created because of your questions, because of who you are, because of what we just think of in the moment. And it's going to be an experience that is absolutely unforgettable. And if it's not, we will gladly refund any of your money. So hopefully this video has been exciting and inspiring to you. Hopefully you take us up on our offer and join us at Captivate Your Crowd. It will completely change the game for you, I promise you. And what you're going to walk away with is not just a bunch of knowledge, but it's a being that most people never get to in this entire industry. And that being is something that people can taste. That's what they actually buy. So let us help you bring that out of you. It's nothing that we're going to put on you. It's about us helping you bring that out so that you can be the most magnetic, the most energetic, the most attractive you that you can possibly be. Hopefully we'll see you at Captivate Your Crowd. If not, if there's anything else that we can do to help, please let us know. But when you join us, it's a total game changer. So we're going to see you hopefully in July in Los Angeles. And again, you've got anytime and always access. So if you want to grab your registration, if you can't make these dates, and then we'll just let you know what the other dates are. But I would highly suggest you jump on in, join this energy, this passion, and it's just going to be a time. I just got to stop talking because I can keep talking forever. But it's going to be a time that you will not forget. It'll change the game in your life and your business. I'll talk to you all real soon.